Hey, what's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 212, and we're going to cover the entire book of Song of Songs. Now, there are 8 chapters in this book, and the best way that we could break this book down is into 3 sections. One would be courtship, the other would be wedding, and the last would be marriage. And so chapters 1 through 3 would cover the courtship phase. Chapters 3 through 5 will cover the wedding phase, and chapters 5 through 8 will cover the marriage phase. So if you have those 3 stages, you can break this book down. But we don't want to get caught on the stages, and we don't want to get stuck on a method or a category or a name, but we want to really focus on the theology, because as we can tell, Solomon is brilliant. He wrote a lot of proverbs and he wrote a lot of songs. Even if you look back into 1 Kings chapter 4, it says he wrote 1,005 songs and 300 proverbs. The best way I can help you with this, the way you can figure out who is talking to who, is look at your pronoun. Solomon is going to use female pronouns, and the lady is going to use masculine pronouns. Now, that'll be the most helpful thing in reading this, because this song could get very confusing, but that'll help you understand what I mean by the theology that drives this. And what do I mean by that? Even the pronouns communicate something. Love is about who? That's right, the other person. That's how you truly become one. You focus on the other person. And Solomon is focusing on the female, and the female is focusing on him. And that's a lot of things that counselors struggle with in counseling, because you come in a counseling session and immediately the lady vomits the problems about the man, and the man vomits the problems about the woman. So in this book, you'll get some temple imagery and some Edenic imagery. And I'll try to grab that as we walk through. Now, this book appears to be very early in life. And so this most likely would define something in Solomon's life that would be pure and not adulterous. So you have questions about love. This book answers those questions, but the language is a bit flowery and it could lose you. But this was the language in ancient Near East. Love was demonstrated in this way, language that emphasized the physical union. And once you obtain that, you obtain pure love. And this is something that the church needs to teach and to encourage: biblical sexuality. We need to promote this, so there becomes problems on how to interpret this book. Some people say, hey, this book is a picture of Christ in the church. And some say, no, this book is a sexual intimacy manual. And I don't think we should go in either of those directions. I think we should just take this book at face value and interpret it in its normal historical sense. Let's not read anything into this book that's not actually here, and let's interpret it based on what's given to us: the courtship phase, the wedding phase, and the marriage phase. This book is very agriculture. You'll hear a lot of language about fruit and mountains and other agricultural terms. You'll hear garden language, in which we haven't heard such rich garden language since Eden. And that's the point. If you do love and you do marriage the right way, it takes you back to Eden. And that's the whole point. That's what we've been talking about all throughout Scripture, is that we're going back to Eden, and true love takes you back to Eden. So we need to talk about what makes a good marriage. A good marriage isn't so that you will be happy. It's to show the world that God is making all things new, and that the marriage that was lost in Eden can be restored. Which is why this is not just the Song of Solomon, but this is the Song of Songs, because it's one of the greatest songs of all. It truly shows one how to love and how to marry. So let's hop into these 3 stages of courtship, or dating, if you will, the wedding, and marriage. Chapter 1, Solomon's Song of Songs. Verse 2, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume poured out. No wonder the young woman loves you. Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me in his chambers. And so you see the pronouns here, him and his. This lets us know that this is the lady talking. In fact, she says here in verse 5, how right they are to adore you. Dark am I, yet lovely. Daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, like the tent curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I am dark, because I am darkened by the sun. My mother's sons are angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I had to neglect. And you continue her speaking here. She's saying she's dark. She's deeply brown because of her labor in the sun. And she's saying she knows this is undesirable because that tone came from people who would work hard and labor in the fields. But Solomon speak up starting in verse 9. Listen to this. I liken you, my darling, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariot horses. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make your earrings of gold, studded with silver. And so you see that language here, my darling, only used of her. And so this would be Solomon talking. And so I just want you to get the feel of the back and forth of the he and she language. And I said I would give some language about the temple. Listen to verse 17. It says, the beams of our houses are cedars and our rafters cypress. And you have this language about cedars, which tie back to the temple. And as we move into chapter 2, verse 7 says, daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and by the does of the field. Do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. And this is perfect. This is a perfect verse that we need to outline and highlight in the Song of Songs, because it refers to purity. If love is pure, we must protect it. We must not arouse or awaken love until it's time, until it desires. And I think this is what we need to teach our children, to teach our peers, and to teach our culture. Going after another in lust will only produce an emotional love or sexual immorality. We must guard purity and guard love and not awaken it before it's time, because if it gets awakened before it's time, we now have fire in our bosoms, and we all know the properties of fire. It always burns. So this is all of the language of dating and of the courtship. Hey, let's not awaken love before it's time. And then we move into chapter 3. I want you to hear this wedding language here. Verse 1, all night long on my bed, I look for the one my heart loves. I looked for him, but did not find him. I will get up now and go about the city through the streets and squares. I will search for the one my heart loves. So I looked for him, but did not find him. The watchmen found me, and they made their rounds in the city. Have you seen the one my heart loves? Scarcely I passed them when I found the one my heart loves. I held him and would not let him go, till I brought him to my mother's house, to the room of the one who conceived me. Now listen to this. This is the wedding. Verse 6. Who is this coming up from the wilderness, like a column of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and incense, made from all the spices of the merchant? Look, it's Solomon's carriage, escorted by 60 warriors, the noblest of Israel, all of them wearing a sword, all experienced in battle, each with his sword at his side, prepared for the terrors of the night. King Solomon made for himself the carriage, and he made the wood from Lebanon. Its posts he made of silver, its base of gold, its seat was upholstered with purple, its interior inlaid with love. Here we go. Daughters of Jerusalem, come out and look. Your daughters of Zion, look on King Solomon wearing a crown, the crown with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, the day his heart rejoiced. And so this is the wedding day. And you heard her speaking because of those pronouns, and he responds back. Listen to verse 1 of chapter 4. How beautiful are you, my darling? You see that language, my darling? Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like the flock of goats descending from the hills of Gilead. Hey, I don't know if I could pull that one off with my wife, telling her her hair is like the flock of goats. But it worked for Solomon. My man got points for that. But I'm going to leave that one alone in 2024. And I'm probably going to advise anybody I disciple not to call this woman a mountain goat. But it worked for Solomon. And another thing to say here is that this would be pure love before he acquired the 700 wives, the 300 concubines, and even his love got perverted. But you get to see it in his purest form in his early days, and we can learn from that here. Even with the imagery of this wedding, moving into chapter 5, you get some Edenic imagery. Look at verse 1. I have come into my garden, my sister, my bride. I have gathered my myrrh with my spice. I have eaten my honeycomb and my honey. I have drunk my wine and my milk. Eat, friends, and drink. Drink your fill of love. So the wedding ends here, verse 1, while the guests are feasting. So chapter 5, verse 2, throughout the end of the chapter, talks about the last phase, and that's marriage. I slept, but my heart was awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampness of the night. I have taken off my robe. Must I put it on again? I have washed my feet. Must I soil them again? How is your beloved better than others, most beautiful of women? And now some say in between the man and the woman talking, you have friends speaking as well. And they've spoken several times. Like, for instance, listen to verse 9. How is your beloved better than others, most beautiful of women? How is your beloved better than others, that you so charge us? And she says, my beloved is radiant and ruddy, outstanding amongst 10,000s. His head is pure as gold. His hair is wavy and black as a raven. And you see a statement like this in verse 1 of chapter 6. Where has your beloved gone, most beautiful women? Which way did your beloved turn, that we may look for him with you? And this is the response, verse 2. My beloved is gone down to the garden, to the bed of spices, to browse in the garden, to gather lilies. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. He browsed amongst the lilies. You can see the private language of this union here, where it's so veiled and it's so poetic. And this is how true, pure love should be. It shouldn't be loud, it shouldn't be boisterous, and it should be talked about in a veiled way of honor, which is why we'll see the rest of this language through chapters 7 and 8. Love in marriage is something that believers should champion. God loves it because he established it in Eden, and he is saying, go back there. This is where God is. God is in Eden, and he's taking us back to Eden. And you'll even see here in this language, dispute occurs, and you'll see they'll start to fight to pursue the love that they previously had during this marriage phase. And this is true love. It's a fighting and it's a persevering love. You fight for your love. You don't run to divorce court. You don't run to dissolution. You don't run to breaking, to dissolving a thing. It's not a lover or a fighter. In order to be a lover, you must be a fighter. And you must have perseverance to fight for the covenant that you made before God. And so this is the book of Solomon. I hope you have the tools to read it well. And I hope the key takeaways that you learn. This book is teaching us what biblical sexuality looks like. There's a dating or courtship phase. There's a wedding and there's a marriage, and we see one focused on the other. True love is other-centered. True love may have conflict, but it's going to fight to get the love that it previously had. It's going to persevere. And what happens in the marriage bed is undefiled. It's pure, it's private, and the language is protected. You don't see Solomon and the lady here, even though the language is erotic, you don't see them using a lot of vulgar or X-rated or raunchy language. There's no pornographic or foul-mouthed language here. Solomon and the lady isn't using vulgarity. Their language is camouflaged, it's covered, it's hidden, it's poetic, it's cloaked, it's secretive. And this is giving us a manual for pure love, pure agape love. And the last thing that I want to mention again is we must fight for marital purity and not allow people around us or people that we're training to awaken love before it's time, because it's powerful. Once it's awakened, it's like fire, and we can't allow that to happen. And so may the church champion and protect pure love and teach that you can only have sex inside the context of marriage. Anything outside of the context of marriage, biblical marriage, one man with one woman for a lifetime, is sexual immorality. You cannot have sex outside of marriage. You can only have sexual immorality outside of marriage. Let's not awaken love before it's time, and let's champion true biblical marital love, church. Dig into the Song of Solomon. I couldn't hit as much as I like because I know some of my friends who are younger tune in, and so I wanted to be even more veiled in my language. But as you go deeper, I've given you the hooks to hang all of this content on. Hopefully that's helpful. You guys take care and have a good day.